Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. So Jay, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, I can't remember. I'm losing track of time. But Jaron Ennis was on his Twitter and he was speaking specifically to his return fight. Said that he already had a date. And I know he's been on Twitter at least twice speaking to this. Now, we know that Showtime was scheduled to have a big back half of the year. And I don't think it's going to be as big as we thought, or PBC rather, because, you know, PBC, Showtime, all of this stuff was coming on Showtime. So I guess it was one and the same. But now we're seeing truly what's going to materialize in the back half of the year. And it's not as big of a bang as we thought based off of the video that we did yesterday on the reporting of Dan Raphael. But we thought that Boots Ennis would be on at least one of these cards, or maybe just on a Showtime card in general. With Showtime getting out of the business of boxing, it doesn't seem like Ennis is in play. And here's why I'm saying this, Jay. I know you have your own thoughts in regards to this, but Ennis thought he had a date, still hasn't been announced. Clearly, David Benavidez thought that Jaron Ennis was going to be on the undercard because he said it during the presser. So if that's the date So if that's the date that Jaron Ennis currently had or had in the past that he was speaking to, well, they've already announced the undercard in regards to that fight, and Jaron Ennis is not on it. Now, we know that on December 9th, the card has been canceled relative to Floyd Mayweather, Keith Thurman, and Danny Garcia. That's no longer going to happen. Was it a possibility that Jaron Ennis could have been on the undercard of that fight? I guess it's possible, but probably not likely considering the names that were already on there, right? So now we know that Showtime is going to have one last card. I believe the date has been confirmed for December 16th. Am I correct on that?
I don't know. I think it's still up in there between the 9th and the 16th. I think that's still up in there. I'm willing to say it's more than 16th because there's already some other fights on the 9th on other networks as well. So yeah,
so you got Devin Haney on the 9th, and I don't think they want to go head to head with Devin Haney if they don't have a pay-per-view card or anything of that nature. So yeah, it would make sense for it to be on December 16th, but we'll see. But Jay, what are your thoughts on this? It's like Jaron Ennis is somebody we definitely want to see back in the ring, specifically after his win over Villa. He looked incredibly impressive, and from my perspective, I wanted to continue to see the maturation of Jaron Ennis. Now, more than likely, my guess will be we'll see him in early 2024 because I don't think he's going to be on that 12-16 card, at least just based off what we've seen and heard. I mean, he would have had a date already. Yeah. The 12-16 date is not a date that we had heard, not to say that PBC didn't already have this date in mind. It's not like we work for PBC or anybody that we're connected with anybody with PBC that would give us that information, right? Exactly. Right. But just based off of the information that's out there, the fact that he was at least thought to have been on David Benavidez's card, David Benavidez thought that, then it would suggest that the date that was given to Jaron Ennis no longer exists, probably because of some of the changes. And maybe that was the reason why we saw Steven Espinoza in their gym. Who knows? But Jay, what's your thoughts on that? 12-16 to me is the most likely date for Showtime. And I think you had some thoughts around that date and just the overall call. So what's your thoughts?
I mean, with Boots, it's interesting because I went through his last few tweets over the last month, and this dude said that he was locked on October 9th, locked in. I wanted to get off social media for the first week of camp. So camp for what? Obviously, he was under the impression he had a fight coming up real soon. Whether it was
what date was that? What date was that?
That was October 9th. October 9th, he said he posted that.
So first week of camp, October 9th. Mm-hmm. So that's like 4 weeks ago. So that would put him fighting at the end of November. Basically,
or early December. So
yeah, but
it's still a possibility. That's a long camp because he's been training forever.
8 weeks. Well, we've seen him, but he's a gym rat, so he stays in the gym. But if you give him 8 weeks, that will put him towards David Benavidez's fight is what, 11/25?
11/25.
So yeah,
that'd be about 7. That's about 7 weeks.
Yeah.
So December 9th will be right about
10 weeks.
The 8 week mark.
Yeah. Well, about 9 to 10 weeks, something like that.
9 to 10 weeks. So. Yeah. I mean, it's still possible he might be on that card. I mean, because I was just looking because he also said, he kind of like foreshadowed some things that this fight wasn't going to happen on November 25th, as David Benavidez pointed out a couple of times, that on October 12th, Everybody wants to fight until it's time to sign that contract and fight. Don't know who he was talking about. I also know that someone else tweeted out earlier this week that they want to have Boots on this November 25th fight, but they couldn't find either a suitable or acceptable fighter for him. So, who knows what that means? That's real gray, so there's no names attached to it, but we know he said he was starting camp back in early part of October. So he might be on that card on December 16th or December 9th, whichever one it was. But from my understanding is that card is going to be in Minnesota. So if it's going to be in Minnesota, the more likely person to be on that card would be a person from Minnesota, which is David Morrell. That's what I'm thinking that's going to be on that card there, because he's fought at that same arena, headlined it before. Now who David may or may not fight, I don't know. Because there's no feelers out there, anything about that. But that's my thought on him fight. Who's going to be the headliner in December? Because with them not having Floyd, plus that Floyd being on that card anyway was going to be hard, because that's a lot of money for Floyd. There's not a lot left over in that pot to spread out between names such as Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Laura, and if Boots was going to be on it, it's just not enough. There's not enough pieces of that pie to be spread out evenly, or at least evenly around everyone else but Floyd. So we'll see what's going to happen here. But I try to look at who Boots could be fighting. I'm thinking if Boots does come back and he comes back first quarter of January of next year, January, February, especially if he comes back in February, I could see him fighting Mario Barrios. That'd be a good fight. I think Barrios has also already called him out too.
I don't think he'd be Mario Barrios, but I'm looking at David Morrell box rec. The last time he fought was on April 22nd, so it would make sense that they would want to get him back in the ring with a fighter that's relatively young in his career. Even though he's 25 years old, he's still pretty young in his career. You would want to get him back in the ring, and he's been fighting a little. Well, he's been fighting every at least 6 months. He's been fighting. And so definitely.
And where was his last fight at? Was that in Minnesota as well?
T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas. Prior to that, he was in Minneapolis.
So that's where they've been. I've seen rumors them talking about fighting in Minneapolis.
His prior 4 fights were in Minneapolis, actually.
Yep. So they're going to have it in Minneapolis again. He's the person that's going to really help sell that ring out. Then you could add a couple others underneath him, but him fighting in December, I have no idea who he could be fighting. I would love to see Caleb Plant fight him.
It's not going to happen.
That'd be nice, but Caleb's not going to step down, because that's not going to be a pay-per-view fight. Caleb's last 2 fights have been on pay-per-view, so Caleb's trying to get another big fight. He's already said the people he wants is Maul, a rematch with Benavidez, a rematch with Canelo. So I don't see that happening, but I don't know who else Morrell could be fighting if he is going to be the one fighting in December. We'll have to dig for a little bit more on that.
We'll find out. You guys tell us what you think in the comment section in regards to Jaron Ennis. Likely coming back in 2024 as far as I'm concerned. I guess there's still a possibility that he'll be fighting in December, but I highly, highly doubt it, just based off of everything that's out there currently and the fact that it's rumored that the fight card will be in Minneapolis. So let us know what you think. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast, AM Sports Media, and we are